Okay, in this video, I want to talk to you about how you can actually go about signing your first client in your SMMA, your marketing agency. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. Obviously, the first one is like the most important. It's always the difficult one because once you actually have that, then you have a proof of concept how to do this a bit further. Obviously, the first time that you sign a client, you haven't done this before, so you almost have to tell the prospect that you're talking to that you haven't done this before, and then somehow gain someone's trust and convince them that you are the person to solve their problem, even though you've never actually solved that problem before. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Ben Lister. I help agency owners to save thousands of hours by doing their outreach for them, but I like to talk about various different topics on here about SMMA marketing in general. So obviously when you are first launching your agency, there needs to be an understanding that you're not going to make the money that you're looking to make right away. And even with the first client, so the amount that you want to charge that first client, let's say it's $2,000 a month, that's probably not going to happen with the first client. The reason for that is quite in depth. It's maybe a topic for a whole nother video, but you really can't convince someone that you are worth $2,000 a month if you genuinely don't believe so. Deep down, if you don't have that belief that your services are worth $2,000 a month, it's going to be very difficult for you to convince someone else that you're worth $2,000 a month of your own time. And so because you don't have any proof, you don't have any results, I would heavily recommend avoiding a retainer model. And what you can do instead is something which is pretty popular now, but it is a pay per appointment model, or a pay per lead. Obviously, an appointment's better than a lead, but some kind of model where you are only paid on the actual results that you get. So strictly pay on results. This is great because obviously the client would have to pay for their own advertising and you just have to actually perform, okay? And so you can very much easily spell it out and say, look, I'm going to dedicate every waking hour of my life to your account. If we don't book any appointments from this, then you're not going to pay me a single thing. I would always recommend some kind of setup fee, whether it's literally just like $250 or something like that, because at that point the client is invested. If there's no setup fee at all, then the client's not invested financially, they're not invested mentally. They don't actually care if the results don't happen, right? Obviously, they're going to spend a bit of advertising on it, but ultimately, it doesn't really change a thing or two if they haven't actually spent some money on you, which is just a small setup fee. And really, it's just a symbolic thing. Obviously, you're not actually going to create a huge business signing $250 setup fees. And this is all under the idea that eventually you are going to charge retainers, right? Because this is what we're all looking for. If you do charge a retainer, then you have consistent income. You're actually able to, predict how much money you're going to make in the next month. And for example, if you have 10 clients, 20 clients, 50 clients, that how much money that's going to make you over the next, few months. You have very clear targets to hit. With the pay per appointment model, the pay on results model, it's very difficult to actually estimate how much money you're going to make. Obviously, some months can be worse than others. For example, if you're in July and August, typically those months are really poor for appointments, whether it's any sort of marketing services, whether it's, generating your own appointments or generating appointments for clients. So there's a huge variability there. So eventually we do want to move to the retainer model. But the way that we do that first is by signing a client on a pay per appointment model. I wouldn't recommend a free trial, by the way. I think that free trials maybe have their place in certain circumstances, but if you're not actually taking some kind of money from a client where they have some commitment, like I just mentioned, then they really don't have any incentive for this to come off, right? They might be spending some advertising money and they might be spending a bit here and there, but your relationship to them, it doesn't really matter to them. There's no financial incentive to make sure this actually happens. So I would usually avoid a free trial, and normally it's just as easy to sell a free trial as it is a pay per appointment model, because obviously the client can actually factor in the appointments into their budgeting. So if you're selling kitchen remodeling, for example, kitchen remodel services, like a lot of my clients were, if someone offers you, $100 for an appointment, and that it'll generate you $5,000 to actually sell a kitchen, if you then have 5 appointments per sale, it's $500 to generate one sale, which you can easily put into your profit margins. You can easily see, okay, we're spending about 10% on marketing here, each kitchen that we sell, and that obviously makes business sense. 10% is around the right kind of range that you want to aim for. So once you have this first client, this pay per appointment based client, right, whether this is with gyms, home improvement, any industry that is, it can always be some kind of pay on results system. You then want to make sure that you absolutely crush it for this client, okay? One of the tips that I have is when you're first starting out, especially if you haven't done service delivery just yet, have some kind of extended onboarding period for the first few clients. This is really where you can set up things like, your Go High Level account, you can set up your automations, you can make sure that you actually know how to launch these ads, you do a bit of reading up on copywriting, creatives, all that kind of stuff. Then you have a system in place which should get some reasonable results at that point, right? If you've done your research, if you've done it properly, if you've looked at what competitors in the market are doing, you can simply just copy what they're doing. So, similar funnels, you can copy similar copywriting and, change a few things around, copy similar creatives, change a few things around there. And then at that point, you have a service delivery system that is working, right? And this can take you obviously a few weeks to actually set the whole thing up. So that's why I would recommend some kind of extended onboarding period, at least, 3 weeks sometimes. And once you've crushed it for this client, right, you've made them lots and lots of money, and because it's a pay per appointment model, they've actually made an awful lot of money compared to what they would if it was a retainer, for example. And sometimes obviously if you absolutely crush it for them and you get them tons and tons of appointments, then they're actually going to owe you a little bit more money, which is obviously never a bad thing. But once you have that, you obviously want to get a testimonial, right? Now the timing of when you get this testimonial is the most important thing, simply because when any kind of relationship starts, whether it's a relationship in with a client, with a colleague or anything like that, or a partner, there's always some kind of peak, right, with the relationship where both sides are very happy, right? And in business, obviously, this usually happens, if the service is going well, this usually happens around about the end of the first month, right? So if there's some initial skepticism from the client, which there usually is when it comes to marketing services, at this point you can use the first 2 or 3 weeks to really crush it for your clients. Maybe do some kind of database reactivation where you can absolutely bombard them with appointments, and as soon as they have that, then you can actually go and ask for the testimonial, right? The best testimonial is obviously some kind of video interview. So you say, hey, can you jump on a Zoom call, record a Zoom call, and then you can make use of that. And now this testimonial is your leverage. So this is the most important thing that you have really to sign another client. And so every single sales call that you send, again, every single email copy that you send out, you can say, hey, we just did this for John's business and we got him, $50,000 in the first month or something like that. And that raises eyebrows, right? And especially if you have that video there, you have that proof, people can go search who this person is and they can see who they are and they can see, it's a real business and it's a genuine testimonial. Then at that point, you have huge leverage, okay? And for the first few clients, I would still stick to the pay per appointment model, especially when you're just sort of, figuring out your service and you don't have it completely 100% down. And then eventually, obviously, you move to a retainer, right? So I would say maybe on your 4th or your 5th client, but it really depends on your service delivery. If your service delivery is killing it, if you are crushing it for every single client that you've onboarded, every client is super happy, you could probably raise your prices a little bit. Then I would move to some kind of retainer model and you have consistent income. And then at that point, you have the opportunity to scale, right? But obviously this is just about signing your first client. And I heard someone before talk about, if we change the model, if we go from a pay per appointment to a retainer model, can we use the same testimonials for that? And of course you can, right? This is something that I've seen a couple of times now, but if you compare it to any other business, right? Let's say, for example, if you are looking at reviews for a car mechanics, right? You see reviews for any service that they offer, right? Whether it's, they've just had a repair, or whether they've just had or whether they've like literally just fitted a new radio on a car, right? These reviews are not going to say, hey, this person had this service. They're just going to be a review, John did a great job, it was fantastic, love coming here all the time, blah, 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 right? When someone sees their reviews, they're not going to instantly look at what service they've had and then compare it to that, right? The reviews are going to be for the whole business as a whole. So you can use these testimonials again and again. I know tons of people that use testimonials from a couple of years ago when their product has completely changed, but you can say, this is the kind of results that we've got. And obviously it still is you generating that result. It's still you and your business getting the return on investment for the clients. It just means that the way that you are actually pricing this is a little bit different, right? And it's obviously a fantastic way to maybe come in at a lower price, a pay per appointment model, lower entry barrier for the client, and then you come in a little bit higher and you almost act as if every single one of these clients come in at this low entry point, and they've all had these crazy results because the service has maybe got a little bit more systemized, and it's because you're on a retainer now, it's not a case where every single client crushes it every single time, but it's still pretty decent and you can still use those same testimonials. By the way, if you are looking for someone to do your outreach for you, if you're struggling to sign clients and book appointments right now, go ahead and click the first link in the description. It's just a video of me explaining how we can do this. I'm not going to ask you for your email or your phone number to sign up or anything like that. You can just check it out if you want. Obviously, you don't have to. If you just want to watch these videos and get the free content, then that's completely fine, and you can add this into your business without actually clicking any link. I don't really care. But if you did like the video, go ahead and like it. Comment down below if you want me to cover anything, and I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe, because there's going to be a lot of videos coming, so you don't want to miss out on them. Anyway, appreciate you watching this one all the way to the end. Cheers.